Really? A single note can make you feel sad? Yeah, if you put it in the right context, we've kind of been conditioned to think that this is a sad note. Really? In all contexts? Not just particularly sad music? Yep, let me tell you about it. Hello everyone, this is Memo for Magnum, and today we'll be talking about the nostalgic power of the flat 6, and more so, how it is everywhere. And yes, I mean everywhere. Starting with part 1, some examples throughout history. Let's start by hearing something not from this century, nor the last, but 2 centuries ago, right out of the Romantic period in classical music that uses the flat 6 quite clearly. The end of the 4th movement of Brahms' Ein Deutsches Requiem. This is a half cadence where instead of going to the tonic or the 1 chord, we go to the dominant or 5 chord. However, we still use that alteration of the major 6th scale degree to the minor flat 6th scale degree in order to both prolong and emotionally charge the F chord preceding the B flat chord, making the inner voice chromatic motion that stands out be the C natural to C flat to B flat movement. Now, let's jump to the 2010s and go to the coda of the 2015 barbershop arrangement of Till I Hear You Sing, performed by Instant Classic.
I hear you sing once more. Hear you sing once more. Once more.
Here, the arrangement adds even more prolongation due to the fact that we hang in the already melancholic 4 minor 7 chord by starting in the minor 7th, going to the major 6th, making it a B flat minor 6 chord, which, if you wanted to notate with Roman numerals, you could really only do by labeling it as the G half diminished over B flat chord, as Roman numerals don't really allow for 6 chords and are more useful for figured bass. Regardless, the descending chromatic movement from D flat to C is the flat 6 to 5 scalar resolution that brings that ever-present feeling of nostalgia once again. Up next is part of Don Macdonald's 2019 TTBB arrangement of his song Chasing Visions.
Visions once in color, now black and white, and fading from sight. I'm chasing them most of the time.
Here, the movement in the top tenor line goes from D natural to D flat to C natural, going from the 6th to the flat 6th to the 5th scale degree. Now knowing all of this, it's time to dive into part 2, our case study, Flying Through a Starry Sky. Flying Through a Starry Sky is the 20th track from the soundtrack of Temi Chang's second game, Dweller's Empty Path. The beginning and ending sections of this track are a waltz that ooze of the dramatic feel provided by the 2 half diminished chord and third inversion. Take a listen. Now, we've looked at all these examples of, yeah, take the 6, flat it, use it in either a 4 or a 2 chord, make them minor or half diminished, and you'll get a nice nostalgic feeling. Well, here's where we get to part 3, modal mixture. Let's explain what's actually happening in terms of theory. Specifically, we'll be talking about how modal mixture between major and minor, or Ionian and Aeolian as the cool kids call them, allows for this to happen, and how that makes for certain notes to sneak their way into Flying Through a Starry Sky when they're not part of the original tonality. First, let's start with the triads of a B-flat major scale. Sure, we have a 2 minor chord and a 4 major chord, but those are not without potential to make them into heart-wrenching chords. What scale do we take from? Well, from the minor scale nonetheless. In B-flat minor, the 2 chord is a diminished triad and the 4 chord is minor, both containing the flat 6. However, we can make it an even more colorful sound for the 2 chord if we use the extended 2 half diminished 7th chord that occurs in B-flat minor, and use that as our substitute for the 2 minor chord in B-flat major. As always with music, there has to be some balance between familiarity and novelty, and in this case, it is the diatonic and borrowed chords that make all the difference. In the progression, all but 2 chords, essentially the same chord but in different inversions, are diatonic, or from the same key. This means that we have a rather simple sound to work with. However, the swaying between the color chord of C half diminished 7 over B flat and later over E flat, and the diatonic chords of G minor, F major, and E flat major make for great musical contrast. Finally, if we extended this analysis to the circle of fifths, but now only using the keys rather than the chords, we get the following: a 3 accidental difference that makes the nostalgia in the sound possible. Nevertheless, it all boils down to, again, one very simple thing: the flat 6th scale degree resolving to the 5th scale degree. Having a chromatic resolution to one of the strongest harmonic points of any scale, whether it be in Flying Through a Starry Sky, Chasing Visions, Till I Hear You Sing, or Wie lieblich, they all represent a way in which nostalgia permeates all sorts of music to the listener. That's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. As for how the flat 6 got to be very prominent in evoking sad emotions, I'll link Adam Neely's video on the subject in the description so you can learn all about how this note became culturally ingrained in the American musical zeitgeist in the latter half of the 20th century. That being said, this has been Memo for Magnum. Thank you once again very much for watching, and I'll see you when I see you.